This is the one of the chapters in the book, The Story of My Experiments with Truth, an autobiography by Mahatma Gandhi. So, it is an autobiography which is mainly written in Gujarati language. In Gujarati, it is called Satyana Prayogo athwa Atmakatha, okay, written by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. So, when I say it is a autobiography, then you understand that it is something which is written by a well-known personality about his own life. Because if it is a common man's life, it is describing about common man's life, then why we are interested so? If you are writing a book on your on you, then why would other people will read? But you are a well-known personality in India, in world, then surely all would wish to read it. So, this is an autobiography, and you have one chapter in syllabus, that is playing the English gentleman. So, the name playing the English gentleman, okay, and when you go to Gujarati book which I have right now, then it is written Sabhya Veshe, okay, Sabhya, that is something related to gentleman, okay. When you go to any party, then you are not behaving the way you should behave, okay, then someone may comment that you are not a gentleman, okay, but you are behaving properly, you have unique personality, and you know the rules of society, and you following that, okay, then you are called a gentleman, okay. So, it is about how you can become gentleman in English society, because you know that this book is about Gandhi's experiments with truth, and he is also describing his experiences when he was in England, okay. So, this particular incident which takes place in Gandhi's life, it is in England, okay. So, we start by line, my faith in vegetarianism grew on me from day to day. Salt's book whetted my appetite for dietetic studies. I went in for all books available on vegetarianism and read them. One of these, Howard Williams' The Ethics of Diet, was biographical history of the literature of human dietetics from the earliest period to the present day. Okay, we know that we Indian, or especially Gujarati, are vegetarian, okay, but Gandhi was very much fascinated towards the idea of vegetarianism. So, he tried to read all the things related to vegetarianism, okay, and he is talking about vegetarianism staying in the English society, okay. He tried to make out that all philosophers and prophets from Pythagoras and Jesus down to those of the present age were vegetarians, and he could find that many people who were well known from history to the present were vegetarians. Dr. Anna Kingsford's The Perfect Way in Diet was also an attractive book. Dr. Allison's writings on health and hygiene were likewise very helpful. He advocated a curative system based on regulation of the dietary of patients. Himself a vegetarian, he prescribed for his patients also a strictly vegetarian diet. Okay, he has also read about a doctor who believed in vegetarianism, and he also used this way to make the people good. Means if the patient is not good, then he suggests the good diet, okay, good diet and vegetarianism to take in. Himself a vegetarian, he prescribed for his patients also a strictly vegetarian diet. The result of reading all this literature was that dietetic experiments came to take an important place in my life. Okay, here is in my life, means in Gandhi's life, that he was very much fascinated towards vegetarianism. Okay, so he became a strict follower of this, and he started experimenting with vegetarianism. Health was the principal consideration of these experiments to begin with, but later on religion became the supreme motive. Okay, so first of all, the health is related to this idea. Okay, if you are a vegetarian, then there are many benefits, okay, which is related to health, and we somehow associate the idea of vegetarianism to the idea of religion. Okay, because in religion what happens, there are many ideas that you should not do that because religion does not allow it. Okay, but it might have the scientific perspective towards not doing that. Okay, so we don't think about scientific perspective, but we think about only religious idea that we should not do that, but we should also think about it scientifically. Okay, the Gandhi is thinking about it scientifically because he has read many things on vegetarianism. Okay, so it is the startup in his life that he is strictly following vegetarianism. And what happens next? Meanwhile, my friend had not ceased to worry about me. His love for me led him to think that if I persisted in my objections to meat eating, I should not only develop a weak constitution but should remain a duffer, because I should never feel at home in English society. Okay, so Gandhiji was having one friend in England. Okay, there were many friends, but here it is talking about one friend, and that friend wanted Gandhi to eat non-vegetarian food. Okay, because he thought that if you are eating meat, you are non-vegetarian, then you actually become an Englishman and you are fit for English society. As if you are staying in English society, then you have to follow the manners, the food, the clothes of that particular society. Okay, otherwise Gandhi will remain duffer for him, for the society. Okay, when he came to know that I had begun to interest myself in books on vegetarianism, he was afraid lest these studies should muddle my head, that I should fritter my life away in experiments, forgetting my own work and become a crank. Okay, so he was thinking that he came to know that I was much interested in books of vegetarianism and I am going to do experiments with it. Okay, so he did not like this idea. Okay, he therefore made one last effort to reform me. He one day invited me to go to the theatre. Before the play, we were to dine together at the Holborn Restaurant. To me, a palatial palace and the first big restaurant I had been to since leaving the Victoria Hotel. Okay, they were about to take dinner and then to see the play. The stay at that hotel had scarcely been a helpful experience, for I had not lived there with my wits about me. The friend had planned to take me to this restaurant, evidently imagining that modesty would forbid any question. And it was a very big company of dinners, in the midst of which my friend and I sat sharing a table between us. So his friend wanted him to take non-veg food, so he invited him to take food with him, okay, before going to watch a play. So it was his friend's effort to make him non-vegetarian, okay. But what happens next? The first course was soup. I wondered what it might be made of, but dared not to ask the friend about it, okay. Gandhiji soup, okay, that was the first course, and he thought that it might be not vegetarian, okay. So he called the waiter. My friend saw the movement and sternly asked across the table what was the matter, okay. Then my friend asked me that if you are having any difficulty or any query, then ask me. With considerable hesitation, I told him that I wanted to inquire if the soup was a vegetable soup, okay. So here he is also talking about vegetarianism, okay, with the person who does not believe in vegetarianism. Then what his friend says, you are too clumsy for decent society, means you are not fitting in the society, okay. બહુ સારી એવી સોસાયટીમાં તું ફિટ થઈ શકે એવો છે જ નહીં. That is only because he is vegetarian, okay. He passionately exclaimed, if you cannot behave yourself, you had better go. Feed in some other restaurant and await me outside, okay. Then maybe it is happy news, it is good news, okay. It is news full of happiness to Gandhi, and this delighted me. Out I went. There was a vegetarian restaurant close by, but it was closed. So I went without food that night. I accompanied my friend to the theatre, but he never said a word about the scene I created. On my part, of course, there was nothing to say, okay. Then they did not discuss about vegetarianism, okay. That was the last friendly tussle we had. It did not affect our relations in the least. I could see and appreciate the love by which all my friend's efforts were executed, and my respect for him was all the greater on account of our differences in thought and actions, okay. So here their thoughts were different, but it could not affect their friendship, their relation. But I decided that I should put him at ease, that I should assure him that I would be clumsy no more, but try to become polished and make up for my vegetarianism by cultivating other accomplishments which fitted one for polite society, okay. Now the journey begins, the real journey begins of the chapter in the life of Gandhi, that he decides that if I am not non-vegetarian and I am a vegetarian, then I should be taking the other ideas, the other ways, as the English society lives. Okay, if I am vegetarian, I am a vegetarian, then there is no problem. But how can he say me clumsy? Okay, I am not fitted in the society, and I would be clumsy no more. Okay, I would do some things which English society does. In that way, I would be fitted in English society. I would become a gentleman. Okay, and for this purpose, I undertook the all too impossible task of becoming an English gentleman. Okay, the clothes after the Bombay cut that I was wearing were, I thought, unsuitable for English society. Okay, the clothes which belong to Bombay, which I am wearing in England, that does not belong to English society. So, what can he do? And I got new ones at the army and navy stores. I also went in for a chimney pot hat costing 19 shillings, an excessive price in those days. Not content with this, I wasted £10 on an evening suit made in Bond Street, the centre of fashionable life in London, and got my good and noble hearted brother to send me a double watch chain of gold. It was not correct to wear a ready-made tie, and I learned that art of tying one for myself. Okay, so now he was learning many things that a gentleman of English society does. While in India, the mirror had been a luxury permitted on the days when the family barber gave me a shave. Okay, he was talking about his time. Okay, so he says that I was not habituated to see towards the in front of the mirror. Okay, and now what happens? I have to give 10 minutes to the mirror here. Here I wasted 10 minutes every day before a huge mirror, watching myself arranging my tie and parting my hair in the correct fashion. My hair was by no means soft, and every day it meant a regular struggle with the brush to keep it in position. Each time the hat was put on and off, the hand would automatically move towards the head to adjust the hair. Not to mention the other civilized habit of the hand every now and then operating for the same purpose when sitting in polished society. Okay, so when you become an English man, there are many things you have to adapt. Okay, the manner of wearing the hat, putting off the hat, okay, and many other things, because naturally in India we do not wear the hat the English person wears. Okay, as if all this were not enough to make me look the thing, I directed my attention to other details that were supposed to go towards the making of an English gentleman. I told it was necessary for me to take lessons in dancing, French, and elocution. Okay, so now after the way of appearance, adopting the new way of appearance, okay, then he comes to dancing, learning French language and elocution. French was not only the language of neighboring France, but it was the lingua franca of the continent over which I had a desire to travel. Lingua franca means when you go to another country and the language is different, your language, their language is different, and there is common language in which many person can talk. Okay, so that is lingua franca. I decided to take dancing lessons at a class and paid down £3 as fees for a term. I must have taken about 6 lessons in 3 weeks, but it was beyond me to achieve anything like rhythmic motion. Okay, he is saying that I started the class. Okay, dancing class. I must have taken about 6 lessons in 3 weeks. Okay, but I could not dance in rhythm. Okay, like rhythmic motion. Okay, લય ગુજરાતીમાં આપણે કહીએ એની સાથે હું ડાન્સ કરી શકતો નહોતો. I could not follow the piano and hence found it impossible to keep time. What then was I to do? The recluse in the fable kept a cat to keep off the rats, and then a cow to feed the cat with milk, and a man to keep the cow, and so on. Okay, so he is giving an example that first you keep a cat, and for that you have to take care of rats, and then you have to you have to buy a cow to feed the cat. Okay, so in a way he is saying that if I have to adopt the English culture, I have to become English gentleman, then I have to do one thing, and there are many things which are related to becoming an English gentleman. Okay, so there is not one thing, but there are many things related to it that I have to follow. I thought I should learn to play the violin in order to cultivate an ear for Western music. So I invested £3 in a violin and something more in fees. I sought a third teacher to give me lessons in elocution and paid him a preliminary fee of a guinea. He recommended Bell's Standard Elocutionist as the textbook, which I purchased, and I began with a speech of Pete's. But Mr. Bell rang the bell of Allah in my ear and I awoke. Okay, so he is making efforts to learn piano, violin, and dance, many other things. Okay, so what happens when he was reading a book? Okay, then he awoke. So how he awoke? Okay, so he mentally awoke. So we see how he awoke. I had not to spend a lifetime in England. I said to myself. Okay, now he is talking to himself. Okay, it is necessary to talk with yourself. Okay, till then he was talking about English society, what every man does, what his friend does, what his friend said. Okay, and he wanted to become a gentleman not for himself but for others, that by doing this thing he will be accepted by the society. Okay, by the English society. Okay, now he comes to himself when he says, I said to myself. Okay, અહીંયા મારે ક્યાં સુધી રહેવાનું છે ઇંગ્લેન્ડમાં? I had not to spend a lifetime in England. Okay, તો આ બધું કરીને હું કરવાનો છું? What then was the use of learning elocution, and how could dancing make a gentleman of me? Okay, it is compulsory to learn dancing for being a gentleman. Okay, કે તમારે જેન્ટલમેન બનવું હોય તો ડાન્સિંગ લર્ન કરવું જ પડે ઇંગ્લિશ સોસાયટીમાં. ઓકે, he asked himself. The violin I could learn even in India. Okay, I can learn violin in India. I was a student and ought to go on with my studies. Okay, he went there for study. Okay, so he thinks that I should only study. Okay, not doing this all the things. I should qualify myself to join the Inns of Court. Okay, કે હું કોર્ટમાં જઈ શકું, બરાબર, એની માટે મારે ક્વોલિફાય થવું જોઈએ, નહીં કે ઇંગ્લિશ જેન્ટલમેન બની શકું એની માટે ક્વોલિફાય થવું. If my character made a gentleman of me, so much the better, otherwise I should forgo the ambition. Okay, it is the character which makes you gentleman, not the appearance. Okay, if your appearance is good, but when your character is not good as gentleman, then what is the use of that appearance? Okay, these and similar thoughts possessed me, and I expressed them in a letter which I addressed to the elocution teacher, requesting him to accuse me from further lessons. I had taken only 2 or 3. I wrote a similar letter to the dancing teacher and went personally to the violin teacher with a request to dispose of the violin for any price it might fetch. She was rather friendly to me, so I told her how I had discovered that I was pursuing a false idea. She encouraged me in the determination to make a complete change. Okay, so what he did, he writes a letter to his teacher who taught him dancing. Okay, then he also writes a letter to elocution teacher, then he goes to violin teacher and asks her that should I sell this violin, then she permits. Okay, and he expressed his idea to that teacher that I was pursuing a false idea. Okay, I was learning all the thing at a time only to become a gentleman in English society. That was my false idea. Okay, so she encouraged me in the determination to make complete change. This infatuation must have lasted about 3 months. The punctiliousness in dress persisted for years, but henceforward I became a student. Okay, so this all the things in his mind happened. Okay, for at least for 3 months. Then he came to know that I am not here to become a gentleman of English society and to be accepted by the society in which he lives right now, means in England. But he comes to know something else, which is about his identity. Okay, when you do all the things what others says, then you lose, okay, your identity. You don't know what you are, what you want to do, what is your own choice. But when you give importance to yourself, when you ask yourself, what should I do, then you find yourself. Okay, then and then you can find yourself and you can better answer yourself than any other people. Okay, so it is we can say it is the quest of identity. Okay, in Gandhi's life, we all might have this particular thought, okay, in our mind, that we are doing what others say rather than doing what we think. Okay, so here we can say that it is a conflict. Okay, inner conflict, not the outer conflict. It is the inner conflict in us, that to become a gentleman, what should I do? Should I do all the things like an English person does? Okay, so when you understand what you are, then you will not have that conflict within. But for that you have to fight in that conflict, in that situation. Okay, then you come to know the answer, as the Gandhi found his answer that better I should be a student here and I should do for what purpose I have come here. Okay. So thank you.